Hi there, I'm Dr. Mary Travelbest, having recently returned from a 90-day journey around the world, and I'm excited to connect with fellow travelers and share experiences today from Medellin, Colombia, spelled Medillin. This is part 1 of 2. Now, first we're going to talk about a listener story, and not a real name, but I'm going to call her Samantha. She's a property manager who likes to travel, and she mostly travels with Gate 1. You might know her or have traveled with her. She hopes to visit Sri Lanka. She's just joined my Facebook group, which is called Dr. Mary Travelbest. And she was supposed to go to China, but now it's 110 degrees there, and so she's happy she's not. But her friend who went on the trip was not prepared for all that heat. She signed up for a cruise, Samantha did, but things changed. Her husband, unfortunately, had a brain tumor and he died. She went anyway. Now, Samantha says that she has more fun when there's someone else on the trip. And other than travel, she visits her kids and grandkids and also does water aerobics. She plays mahjong. She meets at the library, and she keeps her mind active. She's 82 years young. So thanks for being a listener, Samantha. And now, the quick fire FAQ. My friend Karen asked me if I planned my entire 90 days in advance or if I made changes along the way. And my answer was, I had booked my first flight, my last flight, and about 7 other flights before I left. I had about 5 different places where I was staying that were booked before I left. And I had a list of people I had already contacted for staying with them, but the arrangements were not confirmed. A lot of my travel was booked on the spur of the moment, on the go. I wanted to keep it flexible, focusing on the south to north direction around the world. But due to time and financial constraints, I had to scratch a few places. Now, I hope that helps you feel better understanding how I planned my travel. This was step 5, travel. You'll want to start at the step that's right for your experience and your interests when you go. And now, the 60-second confidence challenge. The confidence challenge is to meet someone new today. You might stop by the mailbox to say hi, or visit a park where people are less in a hurry. Start a conversation with someone new today. If you like, get their name and their phone number and give them a call. Now, if you like today's confidence challenge, you can read the chapters of my book that dive deeper into how to build confidence. See Book A for addressing the challenge of meeting new people. And you can find it on the website 5stepstosolotravel.com or on Amazon. There are several parts to the series. And now, the destination deep dive. We're going to talk about Medellin, Colombia. Let's start by discussing the history and some ideas on what to see. Part 2 will focus on what else you can experience there. Now, we've all heard stories about drug trafficking in Medellin and in Colombia. So I found that the homicide rate has dropped from 1991, when it was really high, about 400 per 100,000, to now it's only 15. So from 400 to 15 in just a few years. That's even below the average for Colombia. Now, crime has fallen by 80% since 1991, and poverty has dropped by 96%. That indicates a significant social and safety improvement. Medellin is seen as safe for tourists. Police are present in popular areas. That said, petty crime, pickpocketing, armed robberies, and drugging-related scams still occur, especially targeting visitors to Medellin. So you want to go and find places like El Poblano, Laureles, Envigado. These are good for planning your visit. That's what I did. Medellin is generally safe, but you need to stay away from drugs, dating, and risky situations. Serious incidents and tourism-related risks have occurred. There have been some violent crimes against tourists, especially drug-facilitated robberies or worse after meetings via dating apps. Some American tourists were killed after being drugged. There's also an uptick in sex trafficking and exploitation, particularly affecting local women and migrants. While Medellin is much safer than it once was, you should remain alert, especially in nightlife zones when meeting strangers via apps. So I went to the Comuna 13 graffiti tour. I took a day to explore it. It's known for street art. I'd recommend you take this powerful cultural experience that highlights Medellin's rebirth through street art, like graffiti, right? I took a bus from San Javier metro station. It was a very crowded intersection where I got off. And it was busy. This is around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I had two friends that I just met, young women. They helped me with the right exit from the bus. And they even shared some of their food with me. They wanted me to try a special local dish. So I did. And on the way to their home, they just stopped off and said, keep going in this direction, keep taking the stairs, you're going to find it. And it was a really good experience. And then to return back after I was finished at Comuna 13, I just took bus 95 back to the San Javier metro station. So it was easy to get back. Another idea for a solo female traveler is this park called Parque RV, and it has a metro cable there. So what you'll do is you'll find fresh air and scenic views in this ecological park. It's accessible via the gondola. It's got hiking, nature trails, food markets, and the chance to immerse yourself in the region's flora and history. This is my experience with Mother Nature. Okay? The trip actually kind of went above the jungle, part of the public transportation. I'd say this is part of the Amazon. It's not called that while you're on the gondola, but that's what I believe it is. And it's RV Park Metro Cable. It was the longest gondola or cable car that I've ever seen or been on. And I trusted this cable. I listened to the sounds of the city. I heard dogs, I heard roosters, I heard kids, I heard music from above where I was, where all the sounds were down below me. It was a really delightful ride, especially when I rode down. I even made some recordings in the cabin while I was in the trip. And I was alone in my cabin, and there were very few people on the ride. It was a must-do, and I would recommend bringing a picnic lunch with you. And I'll just mention the Boulevard Park and Sunday concerts. You can relax in this historic urban park, lots of green spaces and open-air plazas. So I'll be continuing this story about Medellin in part 2. But now let's move to smart move and slip up. With a safety concern on my first visit to Medellin, I took a taxi. I was a little bit nervous. I was at the airport and I was headed to my hostel. So I accepted a ride from the first official taxi driver that I saw, and he was very nice, but he was expensive. It was around $30 plus tip. And that was how much my hostel was costing. So there was a little bit over my budget, but it was a good experience. So back the second time I went to the airport in Medellin, I was able to take a bus there for only $2. So if I had known how easy that was to do, I wouldn't have taken the taxi. But the driver, he was professional and he gave me good service. He even offered me a better rate if I wanted to hire him again. So which would I take next time? Well, the bus was a good experience. The taxi was even better when I first arrived and I wasn't confident of my surroundings. So I'm just passing this on to listeners like you. If you're nervous, take the taxi. If you feel comfortable, go on the bus. And now's my 60-second confidence challenge. So I would challenge you to read your boarding pass very carefully for the boarding time. Can you arrive at the airport at least 2 hours before your flight? Sometimes airlines expect you to arrive at the gate ready to board 50 minutes before departure. So my challenge is to cut down on the stress and anxiety and be sure you read your boarding time on the boarding pass. And now for some resources. You can find on my Instagram and TikTok some regular updates on solo female travel. Let me know if you follow this resource, especially if you also are in your prime. Now I've got some takeaway facts on travel. Good news. Motorists have killed fewer pedestrians last year compared to 2023, which was the second consecutive year of declines. Drivers killed 7,148 people in 2024, down 4.3% versus 2023. Now, that statistic is still higher than in 2016, though. So it's gone up in the last 10 years, but now it's gone down. So that's a good sign. Fewer people overall died in traffic crashes in 2024, but still, it was 40,000 people. Pedestrian deaths are rising at a faster rate than overall traffic deaths. From 2009 to 2023, pedestrian deaths rose 80%, while all other traffic deaths rose 13%. And my source is Kiplinger, Washington Editors. Thanks for listening, and listen to part 2 on Medellin next.
What's on your travel bucket list? Tell the doctor and her team of women who travel the world seeking the very best. Dr. Travelbest, that is.